Have you ever been playing Fallout New Vegas and wondered to yourself, how far did Courier 6 actually have to go to defeat this game? Maybe you're a backpacker or a hiker, or someone really likes punishment and wants to replicate Courier 6's journey through the Nevada desert and California desert. Well, now you can, because I have taken my geospatial sciences master's and put it to good use, mapping the journey of a fictional video game character. And today we are going to talk about how far Courier 6 would have to go to defeat Fallout New Vegas speedrun using the wild card ending, because apparently that is the quickest ending that you can do to beat this game. And honestly, the results will surprise you. It surprised me. Now, Courier 6 had to travel a significant distance to defeat this game, so we're going to go with the assumption that Courier 6 did in fact take the long way to Vegas from Good Springs, which is this journey, which has a significant elevation change, along with just a significant distance that Courier 6 must travel, because in real life, this area, you have to backtrack to California, go down through Nipton, it's pretty far. We're also operating under the assumption that if you want to replicate this in real life, you're going to be using real roads, not the artist interpretations of roads that are represented in Fallout New Vegas. So as you'll see from these yellow lines, they don't perfectly line up with the roads in New Vegas. However, these are the real life roads that are being referenced in the game. So let's take a look under that map. Now we can see what it actually looks like in the Nevada desert, and Courier 6 was really trekking. And you gotta keep in mind that there's a lot of backtracking to do this ending, the wildcard ending with our boy back here, Yes Man. So I did include that as well. Every time that the courier would have had to go back to report back to Yes Man, I represented that on this map, walking back all the way to where Yes Man is in downtown Vegas, which, is down here. I also used the real-world representation of Nellis Air Force Base, which is a little bit closer to Vegas than where it is represented in the game, which is a little bit further out. That's around here, whereas in real life, Nellis is right here. So keep that in mind while you watch. So to start your journey, you would begin in actual real-life Good Springs, Nevada, and you would travel down to Prim, because we're going the long way at least once, because that's what the game wants you to do. I know, we're not going to go the way with some chest hair, as a lot of you like to say. Sorry, we will go into that area eventually, but not for the outset, because that is what the game is driving you to do. You'll travel south through Prim, which is a real-life location. You will keep traveling until you hit the Nipton Road, at which point you will go over, move through Nipton, and then start heading north on the 95. This will take you pretty close to Boulder City. You'll zoom through Henderson, and then you will end up in downtown Las Vegas. This is where we make an assumption that Courier 6 just did enough to get into the Strip, probably had to fight a lot of things along the way, dealt with some Caesar's Legion in Nipton, and was able to get on the Strip where they would meet Benny, get the platinum chip, and start dealing with Yes Man. At which point, Yes Man is going to ask them to do a number of quests, some of which I combined together. We're going to assume that for this speed run, the courier would not choose to align with any of the added tribes that Yes Man tells them to deal with, because it's a speed run, and that would be extra mileage that the courier cannot expel. But the courier does have to go investigate each of these tribes, which represents a good bit of mileage that the courier is going to travel, heading over to Red Rock Canyon to meet the Khans, and then leaving immediately because they don't want to deal with them. Then, at which point, I assumed that the courier would head south through Sloan, so we are going a route with a little bit of chest hair, all the way over into Hidden Valley to meet the Brotherhood of Steel. Again, the courier would not care, and then head straight back up north through Vegas to Nellis Air Force Base to meet the Boomers. Again, the courier would not care and would leave and head back to Yes Man. Now, keep in mind, the courier leaving Vegas to go to Red Rock down south to where Hidden Valley would be in real life is a significant journey with, again, a pretty drastic elevation change of almost 90 miles, and that's just one way. The courier would then head back up from that region, going all the way up to Nellis Air Force Base to deal with them. Now, of course, Courier 6 could deal with all of the various quests on the strip, so I didn't really plot that mileage because it's all within a city block of one another, so we're just going to say that that was pretty null. They went and dealt with all of the various people on the strip, and that was fine as well. After returning to the strip from Nellis, the courier would probably have to go all the way to Fortification Hill at least once. Now, we gotta remember, to get to Fortification Hill in Fallout New Vegas, you do in fact have to take a boat up from Camp Searchlight, so I used the approximate areas of where this would be based off of Fallout New Vegas's map to figure out where the courier would hop over onto the Colorado River and go upstream, which difficult, man. I gotta commend the Caesar's Legion for being able to do that. That's interesting. And then move over to get to Arizona and to where Caesar is. A journey so nice, Courier 6 had to do it twice. They would head over and over to Fortification Hill. I had to make some assumptions here on where they got off of the river to get over, and I would imagine it would have to be pretty much before Hoover Dam, or else they'd be too close to NCR territory, and that wouldn't be good. But then they would head over and go up to the fort, activating the Mark II Securitrons, and then heading back. Of course, they're dealing with quite a bit of Caesar's Legion at that point, all the way to tell Yes Man, ding ding, we did it, brother. Now, the courier was going to have to install the override chip at the substation. I just took the location of the substation on the map, plotted it, and we just left it at that. There's no real-world representation in actual Nevada, so the courier would head down there, install that, and then head back to the Vegas area for dealing with Yes Man. Now, of course, the courier's got to head over to Hoover Dam to watch Kimball's speech and do some other stuff, doesn't matter. Anyway, the courier's going to head over to Hoover Dam. Now, I used the real-life representation of Hoover Dam, which is shifted a little bit north of where it is on New Vegas's map, and then they're going to head back to Yes Man and tell them, let's go. At which point, they're going to also head back to Hoover Dam again to do the Battle of Hoover Dam, thus representing the end of the courier's journey. Now, there's a lot of little missions within here that we didn't cover because a lot of them take place in Vegas, or we're already in different areas of the map where these missions take place already, so I don't really need to plot them twice because we're already there. You would assume that the courier just goes and does the missions there and then leaves all of them together. But I hold here the math of what Courier 6 would have had to do to complete this game. The Courier 6 traveled hundreds of miles to complete this journey, and this is just a speed run. We didn't represent all of the side missions and other things that the courier would have to do to level up, get armor, get weapons, etc., etc. I mean, you could assume a lot of these are in the Vegas area, so you don't necessarily need to map all of them, but all of the extraneous locations that the courier would have to run to are definitely represented. I may have missed minor missions here and there, but overall, the courier would have had to travel 655 miles, 0.27. That is a journey. That is a journey. But we have to remember that this is a scaled map of Fallout New Vegas, and according to a tweet from Joshua Sawyer to me many years ago, he told us that the data they used for creating Fallout New Vegas is 1/25. So if you divide the 655.27 miles by 25, we get a whopping 26.21 miles, which, oddly enough, is a marathon. Literally, it's a full marathon. So Courier 6 would have had to do a full marathon in in-game distance, or if you want to replicate Courier 6's journey, I don't recommend it. You will probably die of exposure, and I don't want that for you. Be safe, guys. Courier 6 would have to travel 655.27 miles, which is a significant distance for you to travel, and I don't encourage it. But if you want to do it, you can. So that is the courier's journey in the wild card ending. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the Fallout mapping project, which this is a part of. So let's get into it. Now, of course, this is the Fallout mapping project. This is the map that you are seeing on Google Earth because it allows me to show you an elevation profile, which is a really cool tool of Google Earth. But I don't actually make these maps on Google Earth. I do minor tweaking and things like that, but I make these maps on ArcGIS Pro, which is a pretty standardized industry software. In case you're curious about it, I have lots of answers for you. I would recommend joining my Patreon on one of the mapping tiers to get a better understanding. So what I've done here, I think is pretty cool, is I've made used some DEM data to make a hillshade map, which is essentially like there is a point of light somewhere on this map. It's like on this map. It's over here, shining, and it represents that elevation data in a really nice way. Of course, there are some overlays and stuff here that are happening. And then I also took the in-game icons from Fallout New Vegas to represent the vaults and where they are about. Everybody wanted an amber map that kind of replicated New Vegas's map, which I was like, okay, I'll do that for you, but I don't necessarily think it's absolutely the prettiest map, but y'all wanted that representation of New Vegas's map in a real map form, so I did that. And New Vegas uses a hillshade map. They use that amber color, which is a little offset on this here, and I sampled those colors and turned it into this real hillshade map. I posted it in a few places. I'm going to actually have some like nice prints of that made. So if you're interested, I think that would be kind of cool. It's definitely something I can do because this is real data. And you know, it's not Bethesda's own data or anything like that, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I also took some of the water imagery, some of the water data, and put that in here. And then these state overlays are not in the final map, just FYI. I'm pretty excited about that. I would like to do that for the other maps of Fallout. New Vegas is just one of the easier ones because they used real world data and they did it in such a very specific way. I also did a green version because some people were like, but we want the Fallout 3 vibe. The Fallout 3 vibe of their actual map is not a hillshade map. They use more street mapping. So I think that's what I'm going to do when I finally get all of the locations from Fallout 3 plotted. Now, Fallout 3 doesn't use real world data, so it's a bit more challenging, but we're moving along with it. So what's been really interesting for me with this project is discovering that Bethesda made maps are pretty much only artistic interpretation maps, which would make all of the East Coast maps not accurate to real life. And most of the West Coast maps are almost near or perfectly exact data matches because they used real data. I think it's really interesting that they used real data because it's cool to think that like the real maps haven't changed. Obviously, these are game mechanics and choices by developers, but they do have implications for the lore of the games, which I personally think is interesting. Trust me, I understand that this is a game mechanic. I know rationally, like, that's a game mechanic. Calm down. But something interesting I did discover through this was it's not just a Bethesda thing, because Bethesda made this map for Operation Anchorage, the DLC, and it matches the real-life Anchorage. This is the only Bethesda map I've been able to find that matches real-life data, which is so interesting to me. And they did a good job. The irony being, of course, it is a simulation, but that is an exact map, exact data match. As even to the projection I'm using, which projection is just like how the map is projected. You take a sphere, right? The Earth is a sphere and you have to put it on a flat surface. So this projection, for whatever reason, matched up perfectly. And it's also what New Vegas and Fallout 1 and 2 use, which is pretty cool. And I think Bethesda did a pretty cool job here. And it follows the trend. For whatever reason, the stuff out west matches and the stuff out east doesn't. And again, initially I was like, well, that's a Bethesda versus non-Bethesda, with the exception of Operation Anchorage, which is a Bethesda-developed map. So if we go over to DC, this map is not representative of real-life DC. There are a lot of different things that aren't. So the blue and yellow map here is the real map kind of offset. It is not perfect yet. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking sections of that map and plotting those separately because you can get a little bit more accuracy. What I'm really trying to find from Fallout 3 is just the locations of the vaults. I will pull those locations and then I will remove these base maps because they just don't line up well enough to keep on the map, but they're good references. And then I will do similar to this, which doesn't really show terrain. Yes, it shows rivers and stuff like that. This is more of like a street map / ground cover map. I will match the style of Fallout 3's green, represent the streets on the map, and plot the vaults there. So I'm trying to match the base map with like the finalized map that I produce because that just seems like the fun thing to do. Fallout 76 fans, I'm not forgetting you. I'm actually talking to the director of Fallout 76 right now. I'm trying to pick his brain a little bit about what's going on with their maps. So TBD on that one. We will get back to you. It definitely is an artistic representation. I want to hear back from the director of 76 before I finalize this map. But as it stands right now, it's kind of just chilling in the general 76 area. We might have to do something similar to Fallout 3, or we might have to scrap it entirely and just plot where the vaults are based off their proximity to the cities. We'll see. Fallout 4's map is going. It is definitely not perfect, but I think I can get it warped enough and where I don't have to cut it up into sections, because Fallout 4's map does somewhat represent real life areas. There's some interpretations that are a little different, like the river down here is not represented that I can find fully in real life, but downtown Boston pretty much represents downtown Boston. It's just warped. And I still think it looks good. Like even the location of bridges and things like that lines up relatively well. So we're using that as reference. And then similar to Fallout 3, it's not a terrain map. It's just like a street map. So the final map from that will be similar, where I just do a street map and ground cover as opposed to a terrain map like we have out west. A lot of you are asking for Fallout Tactics. Not done with Fallout Tactics yet, but I have a general idea of how Fallout Tactics is working, and it is very interesting. I don't think they used fully real data for Fallout Tactics, but I'm trying to discover a little bit more of that. It's getting pushed back because it's a complicated map. We did Project Van Buren for fun. It does represent exact near on. It's a different projection. That's why it's warped slightly, but it is representative of real data, and it is really easy to see. And that was a cool find in this mapping project. And of course, as you guys know, Fallout 1 and 2 are on here. They look clean. They're good. You can access that publicly in my server. You can access a lot of these maps publicly in my server. What happens is I post a lot of them public in my server after they've been on my Patreon for a few days. So Patreon gets early access. There's also benefits to Patreon. I'm going to start doing Assassin's Creed games. I'm going to start doing other games. And we're going to have polls for certain rank of members to vote on that. And then even if you're paying a lot, you can request certain maps. So that is coming, and I'm pretty excited about it. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is the update on the mapping project. Obviously, we also have the vault map as well, which is mapped. The diamonds are the maps of the Fallout TV show or the vaults of the Fallout TV show. I'm definitely wanting to adjust this here and there, and then I'm going to end up making a prettier map of all of these locations. And now something that I was discussing this with Oxhorn actually a couple days ago, and he was like, it's cool. This map is very cool. Obviously it's subject to change because this is a pre-war thing. So everything on this map could totally change after the fact, but it is cool to like get an idea of where everything is. Oh, last but not least, this was posted on Reddit recently. It represents cities, and then also San Luis Obispo County is right here, and then north of it is Monterey County. I don't know why they're highlighted. They would be in the state of Maxon. I'm assuming it's remaining NCR territory. It's kind of hard to say, but let me know what you think of that in the comments. That is it for the mapping update / the Courier's journey. I really do hope you enjoyed. I'm glad you guys are liking these, and I got more to come. Give me suggestions of what you want me to map in the future. Check me out everywhere. Be sure to follow if you don't already, and you guys have a safe and wonderful day in the wasteland. I will catch you in the next video.